Have you ever been on a critical video call from a branch office and the video just keeps stuttering? Or you're trying to use a cloud app that feels like it's crawling through mud? Well, chances are the problem is your traditional network. Today, we're going to talk about the fix. It's a strategy called Secure Direct Internet Access, or DIA. Let's dive in and see how it completely clears up that traffic jam to the cloud.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the problem, what we're calling the WAN traffic jam. Then we'll map out the solution, the DIA superhighway. After that, and this is maybe the most important part, we'll talk about building the security checkpoint to keep everything safe. And finally, we'll wrap up with a practical configuration checklist so you know what it takes to get this done.
All right, let's start with why we even need to have this conversation. For years and years, the classic hub and spoke network was the way to go. You know, everything funneled back to a central, super secure data center. It was controlled, it was safe, but the cloud changed everything. And that old design? It's now the source of a major business-slowing traffic jam. I mean, just think about your own experience. That choppy video call I mentioned? That cloud application that's just painfully slow? Does that sound familiar? If you're nodding your head right now, you are definitely not alone. And the thing is, the culprit is almost always the old-school network design that so many companies are still running on. So here's the absolute heart of the problem. The old way is called backhauling. It means that if you're in a branch office, all of your internet traffic has to take this huge detour. It gets routed all the way back to the main corporate data center just so it can be checked by the big security stack there. But here's the thing. Our most important apps today, like Microsoft 365 or Salesforce, they live on the internet. They need a direct path, not a scenic tour through headquarters. And this picture, well, it shows you exactly what's happening. Just follow that dotted line. The user at the remote site wants to get to the cloud, but the request is forced all the way back over the private network to the data center. Only then, after it gets inspected, does it finally go out to the internet. That crazy round trip just adds delay and eats up your expensive network connections. And the effect of this bottleneck is brutal. You're wasting expensive private network bandwidth on traffic that's just going to the public internet. You're introducing a ton of latency, which is what makes applications feel so slow. The bottom line is you get a terrible user experience and a model that just doesn't work in a world that relies on the cloud. It just doesn't scale. Okay, so if the old way is a permanent traffic jam, what do? Well, you don't sit in traffic, you build a new road. So let's talk about the DIA superhighway, a direct express route straight to the cloud. So what is direct internet access? You know, it's one of those things that's as simple as it sounds. Instead of backhauling all that traffic, we just let it go out to the internet directly from the local internet connection at the branch office. It's a really straightforward idea, but it is an absolute game changer for network performance. Let's go back to our diagram for a second. See that solid, bold orange line? That is DIA in action. The traffic that's headed for the cloud gets to take an express off-ramp right from the remote site. It completely sidesteps the data center and goes straight to its destination. It's faster, it's way more efficient, and it actually saves you money on those private network links.
And the results? They're pretty much immediate. Latency just plummets because you've cut out that pointless round trip. You stop burning through that expensive private bandwidth for public web traffic. And the most important thing for the people actually using the network, the experience is just better. Applications are snappier, everything feels faster.
Okay. This is the point where the alarm bells might be going off. This sounds great, right? But wait a minute. If we're opening up a direct internet connection at every single branch office, haven't we just created hundreds of new doors for hackers and threats to just walk right in? The whole reason we did all that backhauling in the first place was for security.
And that is the million-dollar question. And it leads us to the most critical part of this whole strategy, the secure and secure DIA. You can't just flip a switch and let traffic go free. You have to build a smart, powerful security checkpoint right there at the edge, at every single location.
So how is this even possible? Well, this is where modern SD-WAN solutions come in. The security stack is no longer stuck in the data center. As you can see right here in this diagram, a complete set of enterprise-grade security features can be built right into the router at the remote site.
So what are we talking about when we say a full security stack? Well, first, you've got an enterprise firewall that actually understands applications. Then you have an intrusion prevention system, or IPS, that's actively looking for and blocking attacks. On top of that, you layer on things like URL filtering to control which websites users can visit, advanced malware protection to scan files for threats, and even DNS layer security to block bad stuff before a connection is even made. It's the whole shebang, a multi-layered defense right there in the branch. What's really great is how flexible this is. Let's say you have a smaller branch with a router that doesn't have quite enough power for the full stack, or maybe you just want an extra layer of security. No problem. You can seamlessly extend your policy to a cloud security service, like Cisco Umbrella, for a really powerful hybrid security model.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds amazing, but configuring all of this across hundreds of sites must be an absolute nightmare. And you know what? If you had to do it manually, it would be. But that's the magic of centralized management tools like Cisco vManage. Instead of complicated command lines, you get a simple, guided wizard. You literally just say, hey, I want to set up secure direct internet, and it walks you right through building the policy you need.
Okay, so we've covered the why and the what. Let's get down to brass tacks and talk about the how. We're going to go through a high-level checklist of the key things you need to have in place to make this a reality.
So the whole process really breaks down into 6 main prerequisite steps. You start with the basics in step 1, which is just enabling that local breakout using what's called Network Address Translation, or NAT. Step 2 is getting the security software itself ready. Step 3 is optional, but it's where you can dedicate resources for the best performance. Step 4 is defining your rules, the who, what, and where of your security policy. And then the last 2 steps are also optional but highly recommended. Ways to level up your security by plugging into things like advanced malware analysis and cloud security.
And here's a really important technical detail, kind of a pro tip. If you want to use the most powerful on-box URL filtering, which means downloading the entire database of websites to the device itself, you've got to make sure that router has at least 16 gigs of RAM. It's a key hardware requirement to keep in mind. Once you've checked all those prerequisite boxes and got everything lined up, the final step is honestly the most satisfying. From that single vManage dashboard, you can push your brand new secure DIA policy out to 10, 100, or even thousands of sites with just a few clicks. That's the real power of centralized, software-defined networking.
All right, so let's just quickly wrap up the key takeaways here. Number 1, backhauling traffic is an old model for a bygone era. It's a bottleneck in our cloud-first world. Number 2, direct internet access is the answer for performance. But, and it's a big but, it has to come with serious, integrated security at the branch. And finally, modern SD-WAN solutions give you that security stack right on the box, and tools like vManage make it simple to deploy and manage across your entire enterprise.
So I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about. Your business, your applications, and your users, they've all moved to the cloud. So isn't it time your network and your security finally caught up?